What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for Love During Lockup season I don't know, episode I don't know. But it's the very first one for this season. So let's get started. The only problem that I have with the show, Love During Lockup, I mean, this is obviously WeTV trying to bleed the hell out of the Love After Lockup franchise series, whatever, because I think it's just there's no purpose in having a franchise where the other party stays locked up, because this is love during lockup, so the other party will never see them outside of prison. And I don't get it. I don't like the fact that they can only communicate by phone or text messages or whatever. I'd rather them keep all of that and then, show us something when some of them have come out of prison so we can see them on Love After Lockup or whatever. But I don't like the Love During Lockup. It's my least favorite, but I'm still here. So let's get into it. So the first couple is Leticia and Keith. Leticia is 36 years old. Keith is 34. He's in prison for drug distribution. I don't know how much time he got. So Leticia has two daughters. She lives in Iowa. Leticia was drawn to Keith because he's got that thug appeal. He's got the gold teeth, the tattoos, all of that. And that's what drew her to him. Now, she is a business owner. She owns her own tax company and tax service business, but she likes those street thugs, which to me just makes no sense. I think if you're like back in the day when we were like in high school, junior high, yeah, those bad boys had an appeal to us. But then when you grew up and you realized the importance of having a job with benefits, good credit, all of that stuff, you kind of stray away from the bad boy type and you start looking for a real man who can take care of real responsibilities. But she's still stuck in her high school days where she still finds the thugs very attractive. So like I said, she has her own tax service business. This couple is actually married. Okay. They actually did get married. So Leticia has a meeting with her staff and she tells them that her husband is going to be their second boss and he's going to be helping her run the business from behind bars. How silly does this sound? And they stayed. I mean, this company, y'all, I don't know. So she tells them that her husband's going to be helping her run the business from prison. She tells her staff that if they don't like it, they can leave, and says that Keith is going to be able to help them get clients behind bars. So one of the ladies asked her, people in prison do have taxes? They file their taxes? And she was like, yeah, because it's still income. The 3 cents, 5 cents an hour that they make is still income. She said something really crazy. I didn't even understand. But I know that people in prison, like especially those who just arrived, probably are still filing their taxes from previous years. But the ones who've been there like 10, 20 years, I don't think they're filing taxes. But whatever. Leticia says that Keith got 14 years. That's it. He got 14 years. And the best case scenario is that he's probably going to be paroled next year or within a year or something. So later on, she takes her entire staff out for drinks. It's a very small company. So it's like maybe, 4 or 5 people on her team. So she takes them all out for drinks. And this is where she finds out that one of her staff members actually dated Keith back in the day. So we know that Leticia is probably going to have a big problem with that, because she looked at that particular staff member and she was like, you've been sleeping with my husband? Y'all, I don't even know why I watch this show. It makes me so upset. I don't even know why I watch this show. It makes me so upset because sometimes it comes off so fake, or it makes me so upset because the people are so stupid. You're not going to sit here and like get into an argument with your employee because they used to date your prison boyfriend who you might not see for the next, I don't know how many years if he doesn't get paroled. We're not doing that, are we? But I guess we are. Moving on to Ranika, 34, and Asante, 32. Asante is in prison for robbery and grand theft auto. So Ranika, she owns an eyelash vending machine. She has 2 daughters, and she's also a rapper on the side. Of course she is. So she's going to be leaving Kentucky, her hometown in Kentucky, and she's going to be taking her 2 daughters. She's going to uproot her kids to move to Atlanta to be closer to Asante. She's sending him about she's sending about $2,000 to $2,500 per month. She's sending to this man. What could he possibly be doing with all that money other than giving it away to other women? Ranika meets up with her father for dinner, so she tells her dad that she's moving to Atlanta to be with her prison boyfriend. And her dad, of course, didn't like it. He's not too comfortable with her dating an inmate. And Ranika was like, but daddy, you're a felon too. Her dad was gone for 18 years. He did 18 years behind bars. And so she feels some kind of way about, her dad not being there for her, during her childhood and her growing up years, etc., etc. So you understand what it's like to have a man not be around because they're incarcerated. And what do, Ranika? You find a man who's incarcerated. So obviously a man being behind bars and missing out on spending time with you and your children and what, it's not an issue for you. So why are you giving your dad hell about it when you're dating a man who's probably doing that to his own children? I don't know if this guy has kids or not. He probably does. So why are you getting with someone who's probably doing the same thing that your dad did to you? Anyways, y'all. Okay. So she says her dad was the first man to break her heart, by going to prison. And her dad really wants her to rethink her decision to move to Atlanta. But she's grown. She can do whatever the hell she wants to do. So good luck with all of that. This is just a preliminary. I'm not going to spend too much time on this show because this is just the beginning. We're just being introduced to everybody. So the drama really hasn't started yet. Moving on to Andy, 44, and Brittany, 36. Brittany is the one that's incarcerated, and she's in there for drug possession. Now, the kicker is Andy is a former cop, and he's dating an inmate. He's dating an inmate. He's a former cop, so he knows the game. He knows the what's up. He knows the games that people play who are incarcerated, who are behind bars. But he chooses to fall in love with an inmate anyway. So he's having donuts with one of his cop friends, someone who is still on the force. And he met Brittany through an inmate pen pal website. Andy says that he left law enforcement to be a truck driver because he no longer wanted to work overnight. He's got kids and he has custody of his children. So he's a single dad and he didn't want to be gone overnight, leaving his kids alone. So he decided to leave law enforcement and become a truck driver. He says, it gets really lonely on the road. And so that's when he started, fiddling around with these prison pen pal websites. And that's how he met Brittany. He's already given her $5,000 to $6,000. If he's admitting to $5,000 or $6,000, he's probably given her actually $10,000 already. Andy has seen how inmates can swindle people on the outside. He's seen how they play people, but you still decide to get with the prisoner. So the friend, while they're having donuts, I don't even know if this was supposed to, if We TV was supposed to, were they trying to be funny, showing us a cop and an ex-cop eating donuts, or what was going on here? But anyway, so the friend does a background search on Brittany and come to find out Brittany has lived with a whole bunch of different men throughout the years. She's been off and on drugs, etc. Your typical female prison inmate situation. And Andy acts like, oh, I didn't know all of that about her. And the friend was like, well, why didn't you you're a cop. Why didn't you do a background check your damn self? I mean, you have kids and you want this person around your children and you don't even want to do a background check, and you have the resources and the know-how to do a really good, thorough background check on someone. So, I don't even know. He says he's 100% head over heels in love with Brittany. Y'all, it's just disgusting. It's so disgusting. We have another Brittany, 22, and Key-Rock, 25. Key-Rock is in prison for robbery. So when we see Brittany, she's in her closet. No, she's talking to Key-Rock, her boyfriend. She's FaceTiming him. And the first thing he says is, are your edges still on fleek? Because she's got the curly cues, around her forehead. And I was thinking to myself, that's an odd question for a man to ask if his girlfriend's edges are still on. Like, men don't give a damn about none of that. So we find out later why that question was asked. But anyways, so Brittany, she's in cosmetology school. She was in jail. She herself did time behind bars. I think she did like 3 years. No, she did 6 years. She did 6 years in prison for armed robbery. She's been out now for about 6 months. And her boyfriend, Key Rock, he's set to come out in 3 months. We find out that Key Rock is actually transgendered. So she is a female to male transgender. And this is the reason why I guess she was asking about Brittany's hair. Key Rock is taking testosterone shots, etc., but she still needs to be housed with the other females. Now, they actually met in prison. Now, she's explaining her whole entire relationship to her cosmetology teacher and talking about how her and Key Rock met in prison. She was walking by somewhere, and Key Rock, hollered at her like something about "you're beautiful" or whatever. And so the cosmetology teacher was like, I didn't know that they housed men and women together in prison. And that's when Brittany says, no, she's transgender, or he's transgendered. So that's where we are with Key Rock and Brittany. There probably some other stuff about them, but I didn't even bother to take any notes. So that's our couples so far. Like I said, I'm not that invested in Love During Lockup because only so much can happen when the other person is stuck behind bars. But that's my little review of Love During Lockup. It's very lackluster because it's a very lackluster episode. The most interesting thing that I found on this particular episode was number one, what's his name? Andy, the former cop, now dating an inmate. That was kind of interesting. Oh, there's another couple. Wait a minute. I skipped one. Jade. Oh, yeah. I got to talk about. Yeah, Jade. Okay, Jade. Completely forgot about Jade. So Jade is 33. She's a social media influencer, and she's dating Chris, who's in prison for burglary and identity theft. So Chris is 39. She lives in Naples, Florida, but he's housed in South Dakota. So they started off as pen pals. Now, Jade said that she never intended to date a prisoner, but she was on a prisoner pen pal website. How did you not intend to date a prisoner when you're purposely seeking them out on a prison pen pal website? Okay, so they are actually legally married. They got married 7 months, married 7 months after they started talking to each other or something. And Chris is supposedly loaded with money because he is of Native American descent, and because of that, he gets like $10,000 to $12,000 per month from the casinos that are operated on Native American land. So he's loaded, right? Absolutely loaded. And people are thinking that, like, her friends, her family, they think that she's only with them because of the money. So she's throwing a birthday party for her sister. So one of her friends asks her, why did he steal? Because he's in jail for burglary and identity theft. Why was he stealing if he already was getting so much money from the tribe? And Jade says, well, he's a drug addict. So whatever money he was getting evidently wasn't enough to sustain his addiction to meth. So he's also a multiple offender. Her family didn't know this, or her friends. They didn't know that he was a multiple offender. He's been in prison 7 times. Jade, if you don't see a pattern, I do. Okay, I definitely see a pattern. Jade says that Chris is going to get out and they're going to start a family together. But the thing is, this boy got 32 years. I think that's what she said. 32 years. Because he's a repeat offender. So this time he got a long bid. But I guess he might be paroled before the 32 years. I don't know. So during the party, Chris was constantly calling her, right? Because they talked during the party, right before the party began. He told her, well, I'm going to call you back in an hour and I need you to answer your phone. So the party starts, people are showing up, she's getting into the swing of things with the party, and he's calling her like he said he would. And he's calling her and calling her and calling her, and she's not answering because she's nowhere near her phone. So when she finally does call him back, he is pissed. He's like, I've been calling you. Why didn't you answer your phone? and it just becomes a whole thing. So now she's arguing with him in front of her party guest. Jade's mom, Maritza, thinks that Jade is in a toxic relationship, and the mom got emotional talking about it. Like, she's deathly worried about her daughter. So Chris, his trust issues come from being raised by a stripper mom who played and was played by men. And this is the reason why he doesn't trust females, because the first female in his life, his mother, proved to be untrustworthy. I wonder if Jade knows any of this, because this is, I mean, this is going to dictate your future, Jade, by figuring out what happened to him in his past. So when Jade doesn't answer the phone, when she doesn't answer the phone, he calls her sisters, he calls her friends. I want to know, how did he get your friends and your sisters' phone numbers to even call them? Why are you giving this man your people's phone number? Like, why are you doing that? I don't understand that. I wouldn't have done that. I didn't get that. So the sister says that if Chris didn't have all this money, Jade would not have put up with any of this stuff. One of her sisters says, well, whenever your boyfriend calls me, it really creeps me out. Yeah, change your number or tell him not to call. Because I don't understand why your boyfriend is violating your friends just because he can't get in touch with you. Like, I don't get that. Yeah, so that's our girl Jade. That wasn't even that interesting to me. I really wasn't interested in that. Like I said, the things that interested me the most in this episode was the former cop dating the inmate, and Ranika and her edges. Her edges were like, they were like an entity of their own, because your baby hairs are supposed to be really fine and sleek and barely there, not like these huge tufts of hair stuck to your forehead. That was what I found most interesting in this whole entire episode. So that says a lot about this episode. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.